You know, it's an exciting time. We're doing it live. Get your little latte, get your little coffee, get your little iced tea. We're gonna get a freak on. It's time. Oh, yeah. I'm ready. I'm just messing messing with the computer, getting my chat up just in case anybody pops in. So we're gonna start in a minute. In a little minute. So I see myself in the chat. So I have the chat up so I could try to look over at the chat a little bit. See what's happening. I am so excited. I've been working on this pressure pot for 2 weeks. Every time I went to use it, I had another air leak. And the reason why is because I converted a paint pot from Harbor Freight into a pressure pot. And I hate to say it, but all the fittings from Harbor Freight that were on this pot, they were all bad. Hi, Natalie. How are you? Oops. um. So I just wanted to give just a couple minutes. I notified a couple people. I don't know if they're busy or not, but I got Natalie in the house. Thank you for your order, Natalie. I love your energy. I could feel it. It's exciting. I love it. So I'm gonna bring say hello if you're here. I was hoping Lori might stop in and Deborah and Natalie definitely. Um so so they're in the pressure pot. I took the lid off already. I'll have to show you something. Oh, let me show you my customized lid here. I kept getting leaks, and I didn't know none of the sealant stuff was working, so I ended up doing resin. I put loads of crazy glue around there and then let that dry, and then I did loads of resin on all the fittings, and then I built a cup with clay around the bottom of these fittings and just filled them up. I actually still have to fill this big cup up one more time because there's, believe it or not, there's still a little bit of air. So I'm just going to bury the whole damn thing in resin. But it's good to go. I did do um, this one casting because I felt that it was going to be okay, and I was right. They look pretty good from what I'm seeing, but we're going to get a closer look in a few minutes. Excuse me. Yeah, so I don't have my first big crystal cluster mold because I sold all those molds. I have to recast one tonight. And starting today, like none of these molds. Oh wow, you know what? Damn it. None of these molds were casted in this pressure pot. So when I take when I take these out, I could have a bunch of pimples all over my crystals. I just thought of that. So we're going to have to see how they came out. I may have ruined the crystals. I just thought of that. You need to cast your molds in a pressure pot and then cast your resin in the pressure pot in molds. Have not been done in a pressure pot. So there was little tiny bubbles with inside the outsides of the mold. And I forgot that they told me that you're not supposed to pressure cast in molds that have not been pressure casted first. So we're going to take out one of these molds and see if it's filled with pimples. And if it is, then you'll be learning something right along with me, because I was told about this and I completely forgot. Oh, I forgot. But from today on, all my molds will be casted in the pressure pot. So there will never be any air within the molds. And then once I pressurize resin in them, then we will see. So we're going to see if I actually have any pimples from any air bubbles that may have been within my molds. So I didn't go crazy pressurizing. I used 50 PSI. I have read that you can use 35 to 40, which is what I'm going to be using in the paint pot. I don't want to push this Harbor Freight paint pot. So you see some of the clear resin leaked out on top of my little 9-inch board. So I have a little bit that dripped down in there, which is okay. It's a rounded bottom, so we have to make a shelf. And I'm actually going to find some of those little cake pillars and glue like 3 cake pillars and then make another 9-inch mold so that I can have 2 levels. So that's going to be a little tricky when I got some loose, my epoxies like Wooder that I use. And I casted with Epox A Cast 690 from Smooth On, Reynolds Advanced Materials. So let me get this pot out of the way. Okay, and you can, you can find videos. That was my torch. I need to pick that up. So you can find videos online on how to convert the paint pots over. But you got to be careful you're not putting too much pressure into them, because they're not the greatest quality at all. So my husband helped me with that job. That wasn't something that I could tackle on my own. So you need a man. My husband can do anything. You know, he can build and do anything. Build cars, motorcycles, fix anything at all. He's been taking care of a lot of schools for a really long time, and he's just no. So I couldn't have done it without him. So don't attempt this yourself. So, like I said, I don't have my big crystal cluster, which I'll show you real quickly. The difference. We're going to look at the difference in a minute of how these came out being casted. And let me see if I can get my phone. I have it wrapped around here. So over here are the brand new shelves my honey built me last week. He put 4 shelves. You see, that's like a fuse box. Like my furnace is right here. Like I'm in the woman's side cave of the basement. Okay? So he's making it functional for me to do what I need to do. So these are all tiles that are curing. I had 180 tiles that were touching each other, and they all got marks on them, right? Which sucked. So here's the pile that I still have to sand and re-coat. So all these got a clear coat up here, and they're not touching each other, and they're going to sit here for 30 days. So if anybody orders them off the website, they have to wait until the 30-day mark, and then they will be shipped out. But they could buy them now to hold them, but I won't ship them for a month because I don't want my stuff having marks on it. So as you can see, I have my big tiles are lined up. Most of these have to be redone. And then there's some other artworks that have been cured for a really long time. So I put a lot of what I could. But what I wanted to show you was, so here's a lot of the crystals that I have already done without using a pressure pot. So as you could see, here are the bubbles. This is a beautiful one. This was done with Epoxy Cast 690, what I used last night, but there's still a few bubbles in it. Okay, and I posted one of my last ads that I posted. Some of the girls started talking about the bubbles, so I took that ad down, and then we worked on getting me the pressure pot because I said I want my crystals to be a better quality than what they are. So they're still beautiful, even with, if you were crafty enough, you could just put white glitter on the parts where the bubbles are and still use them. Here's one of my new ones I just released on the website. This is a new mold that I have. These actually are harder to make than the others, so they're a little more expensive. I have to build this each time I cast one. So I have one that's like that. I have a mold that is like this. We're going to unmold one of these in a bit. And I think I molded 4 of them. So there's 3 different styles. Here's the other one. There's 3 different styles of these, but only one of each, one of a kind. And then if you look over here, I can't have my light on my phone on right here, so I'll stay in front of the light. So these ones I use the Gold Rush from Smooth On. I put some of the Gold Rush in there. I put some of the Violet from Epoxy Candy Shimmer Tints in there. I wanted to see what it looked like with some gold in there, with some glitter in there, see how cool they looked. Here's one of my clusters. So this is the original reason why I came over to the shelf, was to show that I don't have any of these first clusters casted in the pot. I still have to do that one. So I'll do that tonight. I have 2 molds I have to pour tonight for another order. So I'll put those in, and I'll put one of these in one of my molds casted. So I just wanted to give an idea of what they look like when they're not in the casting pressure pot. Now, I don't use a vacuum. If you use a pressure pot, you do not need to use a vacuum, and that's what I was told from the Texas company. This was from some amethyst. Eventually, I will remake that mold. I have them all the way down in here too. And while I'm standing here, I'll show you an egg that I started making from one of the lists. The girl had a project for everyone to make. I didn't put my hinge on it to open it up like a jewelry box, but it was just a dollar store egg, and I used resin and tissue paper. And then I used my crystals that I casted in here, and I used some of my glass from the vase filler. And what I also do is I have broken windshield, and so I'll put a broken windshield pieces at the very bottom where it's not going to be seen, because resin sucks in and eats up the good stuff. So we always want to put a filler in the bottom when we're building geodes and we're doing stuff. You always want to put something that's not going to matter, because you're going to put the top layer is going to be your best stuff. And I know you understand what I'm saying with that. So these were the crystals that I'm casting. I am going to be selling the casted crystals now that I can pressurize them and sell a good quality. I'll just show off a couple things while I have you here. I don't know if you could see this egg that's in the bag. This is to keep dust off it. If you could see, I have a crystal cluster that I built inside the egg. I covered the egg with different color resin, and I built a geode around it. Now, I do have videos of this outside of the bag on my Instagram and on my YouTube, so if you look around, you'll see that. There was another one that I did. I did two that day. So this one just, I love working with eggs. So I built that. And what happened was I broke the top of this. So then I put a bunch of glass and resin in there, and then I started building my cluster. Okay, so I just wanted to give you an idea of what I've been doing up till now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at how crystals look coming out of the pressure pot. Okay, and see the difference on bubbles being gone, and I'll just wave hi real quick. Hi everybody. I don't go on camera very often. Um, it's not really my thing. When I was younger, it would have been my thing, but it's not my thing. I hope I didn't just hit the wrong button. It just went dark. Let me see. Did I hit something? Orientation is locked. Okay. All right. I got my light back. Okay. I'm sorry. So you have to bear with me here. I hope nobody gets a headache. I've had people unsub my channel because I moved my camera around too much. Okay. Resin pigment. Hi, Deborah. I wasn't over by my computer, so I couldn't really see you if you were commenting, saying hello. Deborah had purchased some of my crystal molds. Okay, let me look at my messages really quickly. Okay. Okay, so Deborah asked me how I get my molds to sparkle. How I got my geodes to sparkle. I'm actually going to be carrying some of the stuff that you can order to do that. Hoping to list that up in the next, I'd say the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to try to give a better price than it's being given now. I have to weigh it out and do my math and see if I can do that. I'm really going to try hard because I think all women should have the best sparkles in the world. So there's lots of prices out there for diamond dust. And some people really take advantage. Some people are selling it for like $12 for like a little tiny bit. And it's a total ripoff. And so I have a good source, and I'm really going to do my best to bring everybody really good prices on that. So I'm going to be listing that up. So don't go out there and spending a ton of money. Try to wait and wait and see, because I like I said, I want to try to give you a good quantity for a good price. Oh, I definitely will. I definitely will. Okay, so let's unmold one of these babies. I'm tempted to put a pair of gloves on because, just in case they may be sticky. Normally it would take 24 hours, and I called the company to see if it cut out on the curing time to put it in the pressure pot, and they said no, you still have to have it 24 hours. But I did this at 11:30 last night. And although they're just a little bit pliable, they would have been still really sticky by now because I have touched them before this in that state. But I'm going to put gloves on because I don't want to put fingerprints on them, because I need to keep these nice. These are going to be for my pictures on my website, on my online store. And Deborah, I got my shopping cart up and I got the online store going. So I was able to do that finally. So I've been working on that. Now I have to transfer everything over to the store, which is going to take time. Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, so let's make a little room here and see what we get. So first, I'm really excited. I want to do my two my 2 bigger molds. So when I do these, I put my thumbs on each side and I just start spreading them like this. You just want to loosen the mold, and I go around 5 or 6 times. I have very weak wrist and joints. I can't open jars up. So this even like bothers me to do this. So I have to do this to work it out. You see how it's coming out all by itself, and I'm just going like this. I didn't use any mold release because I like it to be shiny. Oh my goodness. So this is a little bit pliable, so we want to just pull up on that spiky crystal there and make sure that they're standing up where we want them, and they will dry stiff. But can you see that? I don't see any bubbles. That is so badass. That is so badass. I'm so excited. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can get my spotlight on over here. Let's see if I can see you could see the crystals, the baby crystals shining on here. I designed this cluster. This cluster was not bought like this. I made this, and I'm really happy with it. Really, really happy with it. I could tell you that. You know what? I'm going to glue these all over my Harley. I'm going to put these all over my Harley tank. So, and you know, it's a little bit pliable, but it's called Epox A Cast 690. I will link it down below in the next 24 hours, maybe as soon as I get done, if I remember. But this stuff is an epoxy, and it is made for jewelry making. It is made for what else? Gems, and it is made for making lenses for projectors. Okay, so you could see the clarity. This is the stuff you want to use when you put bugs inside your jewelry. I am really happy, and I've worked really hard at doing this, and my spirit team has helped me. I have amazing spirit guides, and you know, being a medium, I work very closely with my spirit team, and they guided me into this. This wasn't something that I had planned. They laid everything out for me, and they guided me right in to doing this. And I am so excited that they love me that much, and they just help me so, so much. And I really have to give a lot of credit to them. You know, they'll lay a path out in front of us, but we have to make the choice. They can't interfere in our will. So we have to make a choice what it is we want to do. And when we choose that direction, they lay things out in our path for us. And they really, really laid everything out for me to be able to do this. And my husband is a great support system. My son also was the first one to help get me started on doing the resin work. Last year, I've been doing it since May and June I started. Not for this reason, to do my countertops. So if you look at my first video, you'll see the peacock sink top. where I inlaid peacock feathers in my bathroom sink. And in the nice weather coming up, I'll be doing my kitchen counters. So anyway, this one is freaking awesome. So this is on my website. These are $45 plus $7.90 shipping. Um, it's a heavy mold. These are heavy. It cost me $200 for a gallon of the silicone. So you're talking about shipping on top of that too. So it is expensive. So if people think, wow, those are expensive, well, I've given my very best price after doing all the math on all the costs that are involved in doing this. So I hope people can appreciate that. Thank you, ladies. You feel free to share my videos and my website and all that. So we're going to do the next one. That crystal is so awesome. I'm going to glue them all over my walls. Okay. I don't want to pull it the wrong way because it is a little bit pliable, but I've got to figure out where I'm going to stick. My wrists aren't good, but I got to be able to. Here we go. You got to kind of break it free. That's why you got to wiggle it around. You got to break free the points from underneath. So I have to rebuild these each time I cast them. Oh, and I know it's a lot of work, you know. It's a lot of work. So when they're like that, you have to straighten them right away when they come out. Look how beautiful. There's not a bubble to be seen. Clear, clear, clear. These ones have little drusies in the front of them. Awesome. I don't know. I'm going to try to share this for a second. So I'm not being rude, but if you could just give me a minute, I want to try to share this link over to my Facebook page if y'all wouldn't mind. Okay, just give me a minute, please. I'm learning to do this little techie thing here. All right, let me just share that. And I want to share it to my art page. I wish I could share to Instagram. I don't know how to do that. I have to learn how to do that. Okay. I wish I knew how to do like a watch party from YouTube. My little buttons on my computer are starting to get on my nerves. They're not working right. Okay. What is the pressure machine you said they were in, hun? Ow. Okay, Deborah. My device is a converted device that, if it's not done properly, it could become very dangerous. Okay, it could be like a bomb because of the pressure within it. So I'm not recommending that what I did was right, and what there are videos to convert a paint pot to a pressure pot, but you can buy already made pressure pots. I think there are cheaper ones out there, but there's one for like $344 that was pretty awesome. But at the company where I go to get my products, they start at $600 and $800 for, they have like big 5-gallon ones. Like this place is massive, and they work with Hollywood. Like they have all the professional equipment that you need. So it's called a pressure pot. All right, you'll see that's my heater going on. There's nothing I can do about that. You will see people talking about vacuums, okay, using the vacuum to get the air out of their silicone molds. When they use the vacuum, they still got to use the pressure pot, okay? So when you use a pressure pot, you don't need to use the vacuum. So it's taking it a step above and better that it's one step instead of 2 steps. So we got a paint pressure pot. The top of it looks like that without all the gizmos that I resined on there to seal it. I'm having a hard time sealing it because it was only $99 for the pot. All the seals were bad on it. We bought all the pieces to convert it, and we did exactly what we were supposed to seal it, and it just kept leaking. I've been closing leaks for 2 weeks. I finally decided to start resining all my fixtures on it. So if you want to get yourself a pressure pot and you have the money, get yourself a good one. You know, the way I did it, you know, I have to be really careful. I have to use a wrench to close the top of it that has these little screw things on it that hold the lid down. And you have to screw one side, then you have to screw the other, then you have to screw this side, then you come across to this side, and you do little by little just to put even pressure on the lid going down. So, you know, there is a system to doing this, and if it's not done properly, it can blow up, and it's very dangerous. Okay, so, you know, it's something that your husband needs to look into, and it needs to be done properly. I don't recommend any woman tackle this job and claim to know what they're doing. So I'm very careful. Only going to be using between 35 and 40 psi in mine, because these tanks only hold 60, and it's recommended to use 50. Well, I'm going to only use 30 to 40 because I don't want to wear out the equipment and have an accident, because I can't afford one of them big pots, and that's the bottom line. So I do the best I can with what I have, but if you can afford a good one, that's what I suggest you do. So moving on, and you could talk more with me about that, Deborah. All right, well, let's do one of these little ones. It's still a little bit moving. This is one that I'm going to have available on the website. Okay, it's a jewelry piece, and it's going to have the super sparkles around it. So I don't know if you could see that. It's like a druzy. It's like a druzy style, I'll say. And that's crystal clear. I did nothing to it. I just really wanted to see what happened with my pot. I needed to see if it was going to give me quality pieces. And I think that it has. So that one's out. I did a couple other little ones back here too. We'll get to those too. Okay. Let's do another one. Let's do one of these ones. So these are, let me see. This was the last one. This is how it's going to be. This is how it turned out. But I started with trying different ways because I have to build this each time to make this mold. So these are going to be a sort of a one of a kind, but sort of look like the others, but they're all different because I have to rebuild them each time. Okay, when I'm doing my food grade molds, which I have listed the food grade molds up, and I did try the pressure pot the first time with these ones. You'll see these listed on the website, these crystal ones here. And oh, my phone's going low. My phone's going to cut me out. My phone's going to shut off soon, so I need to hurry up. I may have to go back later. But this was done in the pot. Now that's just images of the bubbles, but there's no bubbles inside the mold. So these are for food grade. So these are for use with isomalt. I don't know if chocolate will work with them, but isomalt will. So you can make isomalt sugar crystals for cakes and candies and stuff like that, or crystal lollipops or whatever. So this stuff is more expensive than this stuff, so that's why these are pricey. But I have to cover my cost because I don't get to buy wholesale. I have to buy retail and do it that way. So here we have these ones, and this one has 3 clusters: big cluster, little cluster, tiny cluster. So I don't know if you could see that. Let me see. It's hard to see. But if you could see the crystals lighting up in there. Again, the bubbles are just on this very surface. It's where the bubbles were breaking and the pressure probably released on my pot. And so I fixed the pot since then, so I should have an even better result. But if you see these under the food grade molds, those are the 4, and they're always going to be one of a kind because the molds that I create break each time I take them apart. So they're all one of a kind, which I think is pretty cool. All right, so let's get back to this before the phone dies out. If the phone dies out and I'm already at 38 minutes, I'm going to have to charge the phone and come back later on. So we're going to open up. This is one of the last crystal clusters that I just listed on the website. And this was one of the first ones that I did. So it looks a lot different than, you'll see the difference when I undo the other one. And these are a little bit pliable because it's not a full 24 hours yet. I would have had to wait till midnight, and I couldn't wait that long. And once I saw that they were hard enough to actually touch a little bit, I just wanted to get doing this. So I probably should have waited, but who was going to be up at midnight to look at them with me, right? Okay, so here we're going to see, because these molds were not made in the pressure pot, there are little air bubbles within that mold there. Now, if someone were to resin these, those bubbles may not show, but when you use a pressure pot, it pushes the resin into any imperfections. Now, because these are crystals, that looks like little crystals on top of the crystals, so it's not that bad looking. But they came out nice and clear. This is already listed on the website, Deborah, but it's this one here. Now, because I had to do different molds to get, to do my process, I had to mold it a few times to get it where I wanted it. So I will sell these molds as well. But the final result is going to be this. This is how I'll show you. The bottom is different on it. And I wanted the bottom. You see how this bottom is a little bit smooth? And you could always clip that away while it's still soft. That could be clipped away and you could just have that little base. So I'll show you as soon as I can work it out. It does take a little bit of work. There we go. That worked out nice. So this one has a few of the little marks on it. But the next time I cast this, it's going to be in the pressure pot. So I will sell these this way and let people know. But do you see the bottom? It's all sparkly. I don't know if you could see that. I wanted the bottom to be all sparkles. But again, as I'm looking at these 16, this is an 8-sided point. This is a 16-sided point, and those little bubbles look like crystals on crystals. So I actually don't mind that, to be honest. But I am going to be making them so that they come out perfectly clear. But I actually don't mind that at all. So this was the end result of what I was trying to get to. So it took me, I think this was the final one. Wait, the final one was oblong. This is the final one. Okay, this was like number 3. This was another casting. I think these 3 were the last 3, and this was the first one. Anyway, I had to do it like 3 times till I was happy with it. Oh, and here's number 1. This was the first one. So I'll show you the first one because it has an original cluster underneath of those crystals. So that one I'll show you next. And if my phone dies, I'll come back and show you later. I'll wait to unmold them until the phone's charged up. But let's see what we could get through. So this was the final last one. I recognize it from the oblong shape, because I have to build the mold case after I build the sculpture. So that's why these are a little more expensive, because there's so much work that I have to do and put into this. And it was a lot more than the other ones. And I have to rebuild each mold each time. So, I mean, I know people have told me I should charge a lot more than I am right now. But for now, the prices will be what they are. So again, there's only a few, but look at that base. This was the final one. So you see the difference? I hope you could see the difference on that base. That has a complete druzy look to it. And this is what I was trying to achieve. So this was the final one. So here we have 3. So amazing. And then we have another one here, which I had so much resin last night that I was just grabbing. I was just grabbing. So you have to like peel it around the edge carefully and then take your thumbs on the back of that and then push. And when you do that, it sort of pops it up out and helps. So for people who don't want the molds, I've had people say, can I just buy the crystals because I don't want to cast and mess with resin. I would just like to buy the resin crystals. So they will eventually be listed up too. Okay, so far the phone's doing okay. So I think we'll be able to get through. This one was number 1. This was the very first one. And I had a rubber band and tape this because this one sat on top of a crystal cluster that had little baby crystals on top of the cluster, and it gripped into it. It just makes it grip into the mold, and I could not get the mold undone. So this one had to be cut apart. So this is why I changed the mold to that style, because I didn't think women would want molds that were split and had to be messed with. So I thought I would make it into a different style, but I will show you what I got for the first one. So they all look the same. See, that's LKC number 1. So this was the first casting. So again, I gotta gently pull that apart. So this was the first one that I built. And I just thought it was going to be too much because I spent 20 minutes trying to get it out. I hurt my hands, I hurt my fingers, and I thought, I can't do this to other women. So it splits apart. You see how I got it cut? But I was worried if I sold this to someone that they would just completely split it apart and then someone would complain. So I decided I had to change my design. So this is the little bits I'm ripping off are from the split where the resin is forced into it. No matter what you do, it's going to be forced in. You have to trim that. But if you look at that, you see the crystals on this have little crystals coming out of it. You see that? And right now these crystals are pliable. So if you didn't like where they're pointing, you could gently move them into a direction that you wanted them in, just to make sure they're going in the right direction. So while this is pliable, it's a good time to take my little jewelry cutters because I do wire wrap jewelry. So I have all my pliers and jewelry equipment right here for making my jewelry. And this little clipper here comes in handy for clipping these little spots. And now my phone's giving me the notice of a low battery again. And we are at 43 minutes. 43 minutes, my phone's giving me a low battery notice again. So I could get cut off from you. 40.